Hey, it's Sheris, and I am 40 Days to 50. This is journal entry number 18, and quite possibly in the top 5 of the most random of the 40 days. But I have been thinking about Let's Make a Deal. And it's a television show from the 70s or the 80s or something. But I love this show. Part of why I love this show is that I would watch it in various households. Like all the grandmamas watched Let's Make a Deal. So I think that in and of itself maybe made it special for me to remember the different households that I watched it in. But then also I thought it was going to be like way more important than it ended up being. That I might at any given time need to check my purse and make an exchange with, I don't know, some random on the street was going to be like, hey, you can only get on the bus or you can only go this way if you have something in your purse of value to exchange. Now, I don't remember in these 49 years too much exchanging. So it never like played out like I thought it would. But I did kind of keep it in my heart that it was going to be important to have things worthy of exchange. Now, I think about this. I remember when I I was, for whatever, this is so random, but I remember like my first like purse where it was like my responsibility to keep my purse, which I would lose purses all the time, which makes this hilarious. But I would have purses and I would have stuff in them. And I would like make sure like my Tinkerbell fingernail polish. And I think I even had like a Tinkerbell. Oh, this was like even before the Lara du Temps, which was like, I think the official little girl perfume. I think it was Tinkerbell. Was it Tinkerbell? I think it was Tinkerbell. I think it was literally called Tinkerbell. And, little Dabba-Dee, smell good for little people. I would keep that in the purse. And I remember one time, like the fingernail polish spilled. That was like a mess. So eventually I learned to not keep all this random stuff in my purse. But I still kind of have a few things that are like, this is important and I need a safety pin in this purse. If I carried a bigger pocketbook, because pocketbooks were a thing, Liz had the best pocketbooks. She did. She would always say like, go, look at my pocketbook, look on the left side and the second zipper. And she could like orchestrate a pocketbook like no other. I don't think as an adult I've ever had a pocketbook quite like that. So anyway, I always just have purses. I mostly have carry-ons and fanny packs. But all of that to say, this random thought really was connected to the 49 years and the 40 days to 50 in terms of like the experiences that I would be willing to exchange. So it started off thinking about this unbrush, which if I had to exchange my unbrush, you would need to bring me a car almost. Like I love my unbrush. Shout out Madison and Monica for exposing me to that because that has changed my life. Just in terms of giving some time back in my wash protocols, okay? Get you an unbrush if you're out of the loop. But what would I exchange that for? And that, again, this is kind of random, but it did lead me to thinking about which of my experiences, and sometimes you think about an unpleasant experience, it's like, oh, I'd be willing to give that up. But I don't know if I'd be willing to give it up in exchange for like what's behind door number 2. Like, I don't know what's behind door number 2. Is that going to be any better than what I'm exchanging it for? And when I reflect on my lessons, it's hard not to reflect on the test. And sometimes I earned my lessons the hard way. I did. Like, I didn't always just allow somebody to say, hey, the stove is hot. Sometimes I could listen. And then other times I had to just burn it until all hands, all fingers were like, oh, the stove is hot. I shouldn't touch it. Like I had to earn some of my lessons. And in that regard, they're special to me. And so I don't know if I'd be willing to exchange my lessons for yours or anybody else's, or like this maybe goes down the path of like what regret looks like for some people. And I don't think I just don't have regret, but I wonder about, how I would exchange, I don't think I would exchange my lessons. That's kind of the seed of that. But it led me to think about this sort of exercise and in consideration, right? And this is going to end up in the Epiphany Place rants one day, but it's like if you have to reflect on 3 different scenarios in your life that you may perceive to have been unpleasant, there may be dis-ease in your spirit during these 3 different, moments, let's say, what do those 3 moments have in common? And if you're looking at all 3 of the moments, one from 10 years old and one from 22 years old and 22 years old and one from, 41, and all 3 moments have in common that you were the victim, or all 3 of your worst moments where somebody else was at fault and you can really still blame all 3 of those would be lessons you'd be like, I don't want to go through that. That was somebody else's fault. But if you can reflect on those same three experiences and try to capture your response and whether or not you had the same response in all three. Example, did you run from something in all three? Were you misrepresenting your truth in all three? Were you scared to stand up to, so like where's the accountability in you in all three? And did it change over like from 10 to 22 to 41? Did you respond the same or are you growing? And then that way it's like you're getting these same scenarios to test the same lesson. Are you getting the lesson? So man, I know that started from Let's Make a Deal, but it also goes into like this other, I come back to appreciation of the lessons that I have had, and at least the ones that I'm already aware of. I'm like, okay, thank you for the lessons that I have had. And hopefully that means I won't have to repeat these same tests. That's what I'm hopeful for. That's what I'm hopeful for. And then in the same way with this whole like Let's Make a Deal thing, I was just thinking about like, I don't know, what are the values? Like there's some of these experiences at this point, they're priceless to me, and I couldn't exchange them. I wouldn't want to exchange them. So, like I mentioned that unbrush because it's pretty high on the like, you have to bring me a car for my unbrush. So for some of these lessons I got going, I don't know what I would exchange them for. And I was just thinking about that Let's Make a Deal scenario. Like, again, I just thought it was going to be so important that one day you're going to really have to be on the street making deals with people. And so to that end, I was like carrying random stuff in my purse. But now I think you mostly just need some money if you want to exchange stuff out of your purse, right? All right, so that's journal entry number 18. As random as it may be, there you have it, 40 days to 50.